Hello and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard Live. I am Precious Jubilee. We begin with the front pages of the papers this morning, starting off with Vanguard. Vanguard is leading with Abdulrazaq, Inuwa elected, Dikko, Ahmed emerge in Katsina, Sokoto. Rider says Fubara, Umoeno, Oborivori, Winfuru, others lead in Rivers. Akwa Ibom, Delta, Ebonyi. Oborivori wins Ibori's local government as PDP leads in 15 council. APC's Omar Agege wins 3. Ogboru loses in home local government. Chimaroke Namani loses Senate seat to LP. INEC declares APC's Aliyu Ahmed governor-elect in Sokoto. You can see a photo stories showing some of these governors. On page 8, troops foil terrorist attack on Borno Collation Center, neutralize 60. Six are missing as police rescue 99 kidnap INEC officials in Kogi. Sacking workers not an option in Kwara. That's coming from Governor Abdulrazaq. And we can see stories below on page 12. Electoral offences. INEC to review Governor State Assembly polls results. For electricity, state to record more than $10 billion investment. That's coming from analysts. Stories above. Labour Party threatens nationwide protests over alleged plan to manipulate Abia Enugu poll results. Financial Vanguard has this story. It says a cash crunch lingers despite compliance with Supreme Court ruling. Jim Mark Collier, renowned oil trader, joins NNPC Limited. And that's all we can take on the front page of Vanguard. Let's take a look at the Nation newspaper. The Nation is leading with Sanwo-Olu, Abdulrazaq, Makinde, Abiodun re-elected. The writer says APC wins Gombe, Jigawa, Yobe, Katsina, Sokoto. PDP's Umo Eno wins Akwa Ibom. INEC declares the Enugu election inconclusive. Governors maintain hold on assemblies. INEC rules out repeat poll where talks disrupted the process. Stories above. 9 states to get governors elect today. Rivers, Ebonyi, Adamawa, Kaduna, others affected. We're making ports better, says NNPA MD Koko. Federal government seeks a 360 billion naira in new debt auction. Let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper. Guardian is leading with Cuba polls. INEC declares Makinde, Abiodun Abdulrazaq winners. The writer says that Sanwo-Olu leading in Lagos actually he won already. 70 CSOs demands an inquiry into INEC's poor conduct. Violence responsible for voter apathy, says NHRC. How Namadi flawed Lamindo's son in Jigawa. Namani loses Senate return bid to brother of slain LP candidate. Great hold in focus as MPC members meet. Stories above. Dear Joha, Anyawo, Labour Party chair false election outcome in Imo. Election Lagos police snap 17 suspected thugs. Police confirm killing of Rivers APC campaign coordinator. Silence on death of 5 others. Ogoni cleanup. Mossop alleged $1 billion theft once a high prep contract terminated. Well, let's take a look at the Punch newspaper. Sanwo-Olu, Makinde, Abiodun, Abdulrazaq, Buni, others win. Writer says APC wins Katsina Gombe, set for victory in Borno, Benue. As PDP takes Akwa Ibom, Kwankwaso, Ganduje's men in tight race. Revival rejects Lagos results. Oyo, Lagos speakers re-elected. APC takes the 22 Ondo state seats. PDP 25 in Osun. Soldiers for ISWAP election day attack kill 60 terrorists. Undergraduate denied treatment over bed space. Dies in loot. Arrested Ondo political thugs will face trial. That's coming from police. Stories above federal government rakes in 10 trillion naira VAT under Buhari. That's a report coming from MBS. And we have NGS finds a 16 firm 779 million naira. CBN may retain a 17.5% lending rate as MPC meets. Lastly, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, we have Labour Party candidate stops Namani Senate return. That's all we can take on the front pages of the paper. Join us after the break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. If you just joining us today in the news at Vanguard Life, I am Precious Chukudi. And joining me to talk about some of the stories on the front pages of the paper, as well as how the election has been so far, is Mr. Aliyu Mohammed. He's the CEO of Market Communications, also former editor of Daily Times and Concord Newspaper. Good morning, sir. Good to have you joining this
Morning,
morning.
Precious. How are you?
I'm very well, thankful. And we are still talking about the governorship elections.
Mm.
And just as we've seen that most of the incumbents have retained their seats as a result of what's been coming, the results
Mm.
of the governorship elections. We've seen Governor Dak Abiodun Sonwolu, Abdulrazaq, Rahman. And what's your take on the elections so far? How would you rate the governorship and state assembly elections so far?
Yeah, I will. I will not say the election has been very impressive, but because we had cases of violence and ballot box snatching and all sorts of atrocities that were committed during the elections across the country. But it is left for INEC to take a decision on the overall election. You know, I personally monitored that election in Lagos and monitored the news about what happened, what happened in other parts of the country. And like people will say, it has become part of us to show some level of violence and indecency during elections. But I am waiting for that day that we will have an election that will be devoid of violence and malpractices. Like I said, our democracy is advancing daily, we are growing daily, and it is only that aspect of violence that we have to work on as a country. The moment our youths realize the fact that the people that are using them to cause confusion during elections don't have their children in Nigeria. All those contestants have taken their children out of Nigeria. They live abroad. So why would anybody want to kill because of a contestant? Why would anybody want to kill to help somebody to win an election? It doesn't make sense at all. That aspect of our electoral practice, we have to improve on it. Then, unfortunately, our law enforcement agents are not helping matters. Despite the law banning the escort of VIPs to polling stations, we still saw a lot of policemen behind a lot of VIPs that came to vote. Unfortunately, nobody was there to arrest those who broke that law. So, what kind of law enforcement, are we doing in Nigeria? And if there is a law that forbids an act, there must be somebody or people there to arrest those who break that law. We didn't have that situation during this election, but we still saw policemen escorting VIPs to electoral um, areas where elections were taking place. That is wrong. So we have to, like I said here last week, impunity is a major problem in Nigeria. People break all sorts of laws because they know that nobody will be there to punish them for breaking those laws. We must improve on enforcing punishment for people who break our laws. And that is why we have all this nonchalant attitude to rules and regulations in Nigeria. So I advise that INEC should always educate the people on the need to eschew violence during elections.
Of course, the elections were not fraught without regularities, and there are
Mm,
people who feel that in some of the states, there are people who feel that what happened in their state is not a reflection of the will of the people. What do you think
yes.
about it?
like I said, it's only INEC that can weigh the situation in each area and take decisions on whether to accept the results of the election in those areas or reject them. We as individuals can only talk and make suggestions. It's left for INEC to say we are accepting or rejecting the result in a particular area due to violence or non-adherence to electoral laws during that election. We can only talk, and nothing will happen if INEC decide that look, they are accepting this result. The only option available for those who are aggrieved about such elections, that option is going to court. You go to court and prove your point there. So it will not make any sense for us to say, hey, declare the elections in area A or B null and void due to non-adherence to electoral laws or due to violence that took place there. So, to me, is an effort in futility as far as I am concerned. But you see, we as citizens must educate our minds and also educate the minds of our wards not to be drawn into violence during elections. That is very important. If you and I agree that, look, for whatever reason, I am not going to get provoked to a level that I will be part of any violence during election, then we will be getting somewhere.
All right, INEC in itself has promised that they would, go thoroughly review results of what has happened as regards to the Saturday elections. But then
Yes.
again, with what has happened, was INEC able to redeem its image in front of Nigerians? Because it feels like this one seems to be a lot more, worse than what people saw during the presidential election, and they're actually speaking about it.
Look, we must understand one fact, and that is the fact that INEC is the umpire in this election. There is nothing you and I will say if INEC says no to whatever we suggest, it stands. So what we need to do is to work on ourselves, work on our words, not to get drawn into violence during elections. I blame those who accepted to be part of any kind of violence during that election. I am not going to blame INEC. INEC has rolled out its rules. Don't escort policemen. I mean, don't escort, police must not escort VIPs. The essence of saying police must not escort VIPs to during election is to avoid a crisis situation where voters will be intimidated to do certain things by those VIPs who are escorted to the various polling stations by policemen, because people will get intimidated when they see policemen with those people. And that's why they said, don't escort VIPs to the polling booths. But this law was flagrantly broken, and nobody was there to ensure the implementation of that law. So it is a fault of the system, not that of INEC, not that of the electorates. The electorates that were unfortunate to be victims of harassment, beating, and looting are just they are just there, and nothing. There was nothing the law enforcement agents could do to save them from such embarrassment. In some polling booths, policemen were just seated and watching.
Some were sleeping.
Yes, I saw one. He was drunk and was sleeping. And so, what kind of electoral duty were the policemen doing? So you can't blame politicians in this case. If politicians had a plan and the policemen were drafted there to neutralize the plan, and yet they went to the polling areas and executed their plans without any checks from those policemen, do you blame them? No, you blame the law enforcement agents. There are people who make laws and there are people who enforce them. If you make laws and those who are supposed to enforce it did not do their duties, You don't blame the lawbreakers. You blame those who have refused to enforce. And you see, all these things breeds impunity. Those who have done that today during the last election will come again and want to repeat it because there was no action taken against them.
All right, let's talk about some of the things that shaped the election, the things that we saw with our very eyes.
Mm,
And actually, we'd like to use Lagos as an example.
mm,
We saw records of low voter turnout, voter suppression. We saw people even taking sacrifices to polling. Like so, you'd ask yourself that to what extent can like politicians go, in just ensuring that they eventually get what they want.
you are talking. You want us to talk about Lagos precisely,
Yeah,
right? The situation that happened in Lagos was as a result of a build-up of controversies about who owns Lagos
sure.
between the Igbos and the Yorubas. And that was a spillover of the presidential election where the Labour Party won Lagos as against the old practice of APC winning Lagos. And though the youths who were mainly obedient, in quotes now, threatened that they were going to take over Lagos, having been encouraged by the victory they had during the presidential election. And original Lagos indigenes now stood up that, look, you can't take Lagos just like that. Lagos is not a no man's land. Lagos is Yoruba land. That was the build up to last Saturday election. And to ensure that they scare non-indigens, all the local governments in Lagos declared what they called Uru rituals, so that they specifically stated in the press releases they issued that non-indigens must not be seen between so and so hours of the day. I saw a video where these non-indigens and ritualists went around Computer Village. I don't know if you saw that. To me, that is not decent. It was a breach of the law. Within 24 hours to an election, a whole state declared, the indigenes of a whole state declared a ritual activity, and they went ahead to implement it. I expected the Lagos Police Command to have intervened. They had all the time in this world to do all those rituals. But why must they do it on the eve of an election? And nobody talked. Nobody came out to say, no, the law forbids what you want to do. You can shift it to another date. Again, I blame the law enforcement agents. Because you and I can come up with any stupid plan that is obviously against the laws of a state, the laws of a country. Then we have people whose duty it is to call our attention to it, that what we want to do is wrong. You can't do it and you can't do it. But the law enforcement agent did not perform their duties. That is the sad aspect of it. And that was why we had that situation which created a kind of tension during that election. I saw people beating some people from different parts of the country around Okota and Mile 2 areas. There was a big fight there. And that was the spillover of the event that took place all through the night before that election. I think the security agents should have performed their duties by ensuring that those ritual activities did not hold.
Hmm. I just saw a statement from the IGP where he said that they have done well, very well in these elections. But before now, we were just talking about how we saw policemen who were just standing while some of these thugs came, picked up the ballot boxes, and they left and did all the shenanigans that they did at
There
the
is this
election.
adage in Yoruba that when a lizard falls from the wall, the lizard will lift its head up and say, look, I have tried. Eh? But the idiot fell from the wall and is praising itself. This is the case with the Inspector General of Police that said they have done well. But I wish the IG had gone around himself. you will know that the police has not done well in the last election. I don't know if he's talking about the previous one,
So we're
but
talking about the last one.
I'm very serious. The report that we got about the activities of policemen all over the country was nothing commendable, as far as I'm concerned. If he sees that as a pass mark, then I query his assessment instinct as a human being. His assessment instinct is faulty if he says what the policemen did and what other law enforcement agents did during the last election is a pass mark. I beg to differ.
All right, why is it that we've always had allegations of rigging in all of our elections? Why can't we seem to get it right?
It is a difficult question to answer because for as long as you and I that want to contest election believe that we can't have a free and fair election, and we now come up with ways of attracting votes, then we need a lot of reorientation. The system need a lot of reorientation. Those who participate in the system need a lot of reorientation. Why? Because all these acts that are committed during election, from vote buying, from inflation of result figures, from in fact, all acts that relate to an attempt to shore up votes in favor of one party or the other in the election it constitutes an offense. You get what I'm saying? And those who commit those acts get away with it. They don't get punished. You see, I keep talking about impunity, Precious. Impunity will breed corruption. Impunity will breed killing, maiming, election rigging, kidnapping, and ransom taking. Why? Because those who are involved don't get punished for committing those crimes. I blame all these attempts or deliberate attempts to rig during election. I blame it on impunity. If people in the past have been caught, no matter how highly placed they are, and tried and jailed, the next time you are going to have elections, nobody will attempt to do that. That is the truth of the matter. If we have been jailing them, but what do we have? In fact, I saw a video where somebody was sharing new notes. 500. Yes. 500. People were on the queue, and it was from in a part of the north. So it is to tell you that this thing is not concentrated in the south alone. It is done all over the country. And this is due to the fact that those who did it during the presidential election were not arrested. They were not punished. If within that time and now, some people have been arrested and detained, I bet you nobody will try that in this election. So for as long as we allow impunity to reign in this society, we will continue to have all such cases of vote buying, rigging, ballot box snatching, all sorts of evils will happen in our society. But once we make a deliberate attempt to check impunity, and that will be done seriously, not minding who is involved, whether the person is a sitting governor or not. Once he leaves office, he must get punished for any act of impunity that he has committed when he was governor. Then we will have some level of sanity in our society.
Okay, according to what we're seeing here, some people are getting excited about Senator Binani, being declared as governor-elect in Adamawa State. But then it looks like there was a rumor that came from a first result sheet indicating her victory. What are your take on that?
I was excited when I read about her victory yesterday, coming on a day specially set aside for women. A woman has come to make history as the first governor to be elected, duly elected in Nigeria. But unfortunately, I am not excited. Be it rumor or whatever information that is filtering out of that state that the woman lost the election, because I listened to a radio in the state where he was declared winner, and I also watched her and her husband on TV where she was declared winner, and they all jumped for joy. So I want the umpires of the election in that state to tell us what has happened. If it is true that they are reversing that victory, Nigerians demand to know why that victory is being reversed. Otherwise, they should give her a certificate of return so that she will make history as the first woman governor to be duly elected in an election in Nigeria.
All right, so let's take a look at Mr. and Mrs. before we go. And Mrs. is speaking, says, of course, I knew your father is a rich man before I agreed to marry you, but I love you, not the wealth. And Mr.
That is
says,
a lie. Oh. It's the
Mr.
wealth
says,
that she loves.
glad to know that. Do I get you a small second-hand car instead of a brand new SUV then?
No, she will reject a second-hand car. It's the SUV she will go for. You see, these days people don't marry for love anymore. They marry for what you are worth in terms of money and assets. And it is unfortunate. Some of us didn't get married to women from rich homes. But today, if your son is not from a rich home, chances are that he may not get a wife, except you see, the sad aspect is that ladies don't even mind. Being such a guy is a crook. You don't know how he made his money.
I don't think you can actually generalize.
I'm not generalizing. A lot of ladies, we have seen what is happening here. A lady will get married to a man. Within 6 months, she got killed because the lady got to know his secrets far more than when they were courting. We've had those stories, so people should tread gently. Life is not about jumping into the home of somebody who has made it, and you don't know how that person made it. You can't enjoy the wealth that you are not part of its creation. Get married to somebody that the two of you can grow together. So when that guy, you will now become a restraining voice behind that man when he's misbehaving, and he will listen to you, knowing fully well that you didn't get married to him because of his wealth.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Ali Mohammed,
You
CEO
seem
for
not
INEC
you seem to be
Communication.
lost of word for words or what to say.
Well, you have a point to what you said, so
Yes.
I get it. All right, thank you so much for your contribution this morning and the talks that you've made towards the elections. Remember that you can equally like, share, and subscribe on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. To find out today's stories, you can go to our website www.fankadenja.com to find out more. I am Precious Chukudi and thank you for watching.